The story begins on March 2nd, 2030, on a busy Luocheng pedestrian street. Inside an office, a voice asks a kid if he understands what borrowing 5 million means. A man lights a cigarette and exhales a puff of smoke. This is Zhang Yang, the boss of the Dahai gang and an operator of a Luocheng underground bank. He warns his client that the interest rates are a bit high. Across from him, a terrified young man stammers that he knows, telling brother Zhang that high interest is fine as long as he's willing to lend the money. Zhang Yang leans forward, setting his predatory terms. He offers 4% interest on the 5 million loan, which must be paid back as 7 million in half a year. He demands an IOU for 7 million be written first, and that the man provide collateral of equal value. The nervous young man offers the deed to his house as collateral, asking brother Zhang to take a look. Zhang Yang inspects the commercial housing contract but seems unimpressed. He notes the house is a bit old and at current rates is worth 3 or 4 million at most. Internally, he thinks of the man as a fat sheep who delivered himself right to his door. He tells the man, brother Chen, that he can't borrow 5 million based on the house alone, stating that they might not be able to make this deal. The man becomes desperate, pleading with brother Zhang to help him and saying that 4 million works too. He claims he consulted a master who said his luck is great recently, and he plans to make back several times the amount. Seeing a gambling addict he can exploit, Zhang Yang makes a final offer of 3.5 million, claiming he will lose money if he goes any higher. The young man's demeanor shifts to manic excitement as he instantly agrees, thanking brother Zhang and promising to pay him back very soon. Zhang Yang finalizes the harsh terms, telling him to pay back 4.9 million in 3 months. If the money isn't there, the house will be his. He instructs him to write the IOU if there are no other issues, and the funds will be released within 3 days. The young man agrees that there's no problem, but his expression darkens. Staring at the mob boss, he states that he has one condition. 10 minutes later, the deal is done. A large thug politely sees the young man out, calling him brother Chen. The young man checks his phone and sees a notification for a received mobile transfer of 3.5 million yuan. Instantly, his nervous facade drops. He sneers, calling the loan shark an idiot. His thoughts reveal the truth. He won't repay the loan because in 1 month the apocalypse will descend. He plans to use the funds to prepare properly, refusing to live through the misery of his past life. He recalls his previous life, when a terrifying natural disaster struck the blue star, causing drastic changes to the planet's ecosystem. Intense solar radiation caused the global average temperature to soar to 50 degrees Celsius. Humanity then entered a horrifying high-temperature apocalypse that lasted for 30 days. Back in his office, Zhang Yang holds the contract triumphantly. He muses that the kid dared to increase the interest just to get the money immediately, remarking that gamblers don't deserve a home. His assistant, standing behind him, looks concerned. He notes the house is worth over 4 million, yet the man readily agreed to 3.5 million, and he wonders if it could be a trap. Zhang Yang dismisses his concerns with a smirk. He claims to have seen plenty of gamblers who would sell their wives and kids for money, so a house means nothing to them. He orders his assistant to get the casino to manipulate things. His plan is not only to take the house but also to sell whatever parts of the man can be sold. The assistant acknowledges the order. As the sun sets, a young man named Chen walks down the street looking at his phone. He's amused, thinking there are a lot of good people in the world for sending money on the spot after he mentioned an interest hike. He recalls being the man who borrowed from every loan shark in Luocheng in a single day, and thinks he is not scared of their interest rates. With a sinister look, he vows that now that the money is in his hands, they shouldn't even think about getting it back. Chen's thoughts drift to the future he's avoiding, where the earth dried up and vegetation withered. Creatures mutated and order collapsed entirely. In that future, supplies became extremely scarce as people became unscrupulous to obtain necessities for survival. He remembers that possessing supplies meant sitting on supreme wealth. Chen vows that this time he will not just survive but become a king. He recalls seeing former billionaires and superstars begging like dogs for a ham sausage or a cup of water, while those who couldn't died miserably on the streets. In the present, Chen stands confidently. Now that he's been reborn, there is still time before the disaster strikes, enough for him to make arrangements. His attention is drawn to a nearby noise. A woman at a shop display discusses a luxury ice cream called Ice Cream Assassin, nodding it is more expensive than other noble brands. Chen glares intensely at the ice cream. He remembers that in his past life, he couldn't bear to buy it for himself but bought it several times for a woman named Liu Wangqing. He thinks bitterly that feeding such high-end ice cream to it was more wasteful than feeding a dog. Shaking off the painful memory, he decides his present self is going to enjoy some too. He approaches the counter and asks for 10 of every type of ice cream they have. The women whisper, one wondering if he can afford it, the other admiring how handsome he looks ordering. The skeptical clerk asks the customer if he is being serious about the massive order. She explains their shop sells high-end ice cream, and an order of 10 of each kind would cost over 20,000 before asking if he's sure. A woman with reddish-brown hair mocks him, pointing out his shabby clothes. She declares that if he can afford it, she will kowtow to him right there in public. Chen turns to her, asking with sharp intensity if she is serious about those words. The woman flinches but maintains her composure, questioning what level he is on and daring to come here and pretend. Chen smirks, remarking that he gave her a way out but she wouldn't take it. He states that she is definitely kowtowing today and not even Jesus himself could stop it, because he said so. The woman yells back at him. Ignoring her, Chen shows his phone to the trembling clerk. The screen shows a bank balance over 2 million yuan. He tells her to package all the ice cream by portion because he will take it all. The overwhelmed clerk says she needs to ask the manager and asks him to wait. Moments later, the store manager, Fei Qi, arrives and introduces himself, asking what Mr. Chen needs. Chen tells him to calculate how much all the ice cream in the store costs, and that he doesn't need to be open for business today. Fei Qi is shocked, wondering who this big shot is that just covered his turnover for the month. He thinks to himself that while their ice creams are expensive, very few people actually buy them. Manager Fei reports that the goods displayed are worth 70,000 in total, but counting the inventory, the total value is around 1 million. Chen thinks that isn't expensive either, deciding to empty their inventory so he can hide at home and eat ice cream during the apocalypse. He tells Fei Qi he will transfer a deposit of 300,000 and asks for all the ice cream in the inventory to be delivered to an address later. Fei Qi enthusiastically agrees, calling him Brother Chen and assuring him that he can be trusted to handle it. With business done, Chen smiles at the other women watching and tells them to feel free to choose whatever ice cream they want to eat today. He spreads his arms, announcing that he, Chen Zio, is covering it. The bystanders react, commenting on how rich and handsome he is. Chen Zio's expression then turns dark as he looks at the rude woman. He clarifies that the treat is for everyone except her, and coldly reminds her that he is still waiting for her to kowtow to him. The humiliated and terrified rude woman stammers, unable to speak. She falls to her knees and sobs loudly before Chen Zio. He looks down at her with a cold gaze, asking why she had to act so pretentious if she knew this would happen. Later, in a park at sunset, Chen Zio sits on a bench enjoying his expensive ice cream. He notes that, as expected of the assassin brand, the taste and texture are top-notch. As he finishes, he uses a supernatural power, summoning a black void near his hand. He places his bag of ice cream into this dimensional space. He reflects that this space can keep the items inside in their current state forever, meaning he can have fresh ice cream anytime. He realizes with surprise that his ability was reborn with him. In his original timeline, abilities only started awakening after the apocalyptic disaster began. He doesn't understand it, but he knows this will be his biggest trump card from now on. Chen Zio smiles, thinking about how he can use it to summon celebrities and young models at will. Back in reality, he plans his next moves. A safe house, cold storage, weapons, and energy reserves. He sighs at how many things there are still to do. Suddenly, his phone rings. The caller ID shows Liu Wonking and a ringtone about a little fairy plays. He scoffs, thinking it's bad luck that she is calling. Chen Zio stares at the name, which triggers a flood of bitter memories. He remembers how after his parents passed away, she entered his life like a savior. At that time, he was too stupid, believing she was the light in his life. In reality, her true motive was just the small inheritance his parents had left behind. She had told Chen Zio that her mom said if he wanted to marry her, the fully paid large flat in the city center must be in her name, along with a bride wealth of 880,000. She was like a bottomless pit, constantly reaching out to him and hollowing out all of his savings. She had even tried to convince him to sell his family's house, calling it old anyway and claiming it was for their little family. In the end, she even wanted to sell the ancestral home passed down through generations just to buy that large flat. He recalls how she presented him to a young master, stating he was the person she mentioned who met the requirements for special materials. When the apocalypse arrived, Chen Zio did his best to keep her safe. However, to cling to a stronger backer, she sold him like livestock. A man had commented there was nothing special about him, questioning if they really had to eat him. Ultimately, Chen Zio didn't even leave behind a whole corpse. A terrifying grin spreads across his face as he thinks that since Liu Wonking has come to him, it is time to properly settle the score. In a high-end hotel room, Chen Zio answers his phone. Using a gentle tone, he asks his baby why she is calling and if something is wrong. On the other end, Liu Wonking, in a bathrobe, puts on a pitiful act. She lies that she was out playing with friends when she accidentally lost a gold necklace she loved, claiming to be heartbroken. Hiding a sinister smile, Chen Zio plays along. He tells her not to worry and says of course he will buy a new one for his dear baby. He then declares one isn't enough, and that he will buy 10 for her to wear in rotation. Liu Wangqing is stunned, asking when he became so generous. Chen Zhao lies, explaining his luck has been good recently and he made a small profit investing in virtual currency. He tells her that since he made money, he must spend it on his baby. She remains skeptical, asking if he fell for some weird scam. He tells her to just watch and see if he makes money in the next round. He says playing small is boring and that this time he plans to play big. Chen Zhao explains that he is preparing to borrow some principal to invest more. He adds that the loan needs a witness, asking her to help him out. As bait, he offers her 5% of the loan amount as a fee for her trouble. In another room, a balding man asks Liu Wangqing what's taking her so long to wash. She sweetly calls him honey and says she'll be ready right away, asking him to wait. Internally, she calculates that sleeping with the old man only gets her 5,000, whereas signing a paper for Chen Zhao gets her 50,000. She dismisses any risk, viewing it as just signing a signature. Besides, she thinks Chen Zhao is a wimp and bets he wouldn't dare trick her. The call ends. Chen Zhao stares at his phone with a terrifying, red-eyed gaze and whispers that he is waiting for her. Later, he stands outside a large residential building, deciding it's time to build his fortress. In the courtyard with a contractor, Chen Zhao points at the building and gives a strict one-month deadline to turn it into a wall of copper and iron. He lists his extreme demands. The windows need bulletproof composite glass with installed invisible burglar bars. The walls must be reinforced to 3-meter bulletproof exterior walls, with a seismic fortification above level 8. As the contractor types, Chen Zhao continues, requiring a full roof paved with solar panels and an independent power generation system for electricity. He also needs an air purification filtration system to prevent the intrusion of external toxic gases. He demands an autonomous ecosystem with a 72-hour oxygen supply and water cycle devices. Finally, it must have explosion-proof doors with an access control system integrating both biometrics and mechanical locks. He summarizes that in 1 month, the building must be an impact-resistant house with a life support system. The contractor stares in shock, wondering if his client is a doomsday prepper with delusion syndrome who watched too many sci-fi movies. Chen Zhao notices his hesitation and asks if he can't do it. He reminds the contractor that his resume stated he was a defense master who designed safe rooms for top tycoons. The contractor stammers that the demands are unique and high-end, meaning the budget will be massive. Internally, he dismisses Chen Zhao as another Chunabu tycoon brainwashed by doomsday theories with money to burn. Chen Zhao interrupts by showing his phone, which displays a 1 million deposit transfer. He states that for the remaining balance, the contractor can name the price. The contractor is overcome with excitement, realizing he met a rich idiot and this one deal could give him financial freedom. They shake hands to seal the deal. Chen Zhao stresses that he pays great attention to materials and quality, and it must pass inspection. The contractor promises Mr. Chen can leave it to him, guaranteeing to build it as solid as a rock. However, both men have hidden intentions. The contractor plans to rip his client off hard. Meanwhile, Chen Zhao scoffs, knowing the contractor can't find him to ask for the balance once the apocalypse begins. With the fortress construction arranged, Chen Zhao thinks about supplies. Medicine, food, and daily necessities are all easy to handle. His expression turns grim as he considers the true danger of the apocalypse, the human heart after the loss of order. He knows cold weapons from a hardware store won't be enough, and hot weapons that can deal a fatal blow will be hard to get. Walking down the street, Chen Zhao messages a contact on his smartphone. He asks about a first-hand source and bidding channels for things one can't find anywhere else. The contact DMs him an address, telling him to be there at 8 p.m. tonight and not to be late. Later, Chen Zhao arrives at a crowded alleyway, finding the choice to meet in such a public place suspicious. Suddenly, the sound of frantic running breaks the silence. A terrified young woman flees from 3 thugs who are chasing her and screaming insults. She looks completely desperate and runs straight into Chen Zhao. The thugs catch up and surround them. The leader yells at her for daring to cheat in his territory and asks if she is tired of living. Trembling, the woman clutches Chen Zhao's arm and begs him to save her. Chen Zhao looks at her face and freezes in shock, recognizing her as Li Yaoyu and wondering what she is doing in a place like this. 3 men surround Li Yuyu on the dark street. One points at Chen Zhao to warn him away while another roughly grabs Li Yuyu. The situation turns violent as a thug pulls Li Yuyu's hair, yanking her head back and making her cry out in pain. Chen Zhao stares at the woman, his expression focused as he murmurs her name. He remembers Li Yaoyu from their middle school days. She was the top student goddess, a light looked up to by countless boys. Back in the present, the slick-haired leader tightens his grip and screams that she must hand over the money if she wants to leave. A thug with a mohawk licks his lips, suggesting that if she can't pay up, she can just pay with her body. Having heard enough, Chen Zio steps forward with a menacing aura. He glares at the men and coldly tells them to let her go. The thugs and Li Yaoyu look confused by his interference. Enraged by the interruption, one of the gang members charges forward. He hurls insults while swinging a massive punch, threatening to cripple Chen Zio for playing the hero. Chen Zio remains calm as his eyes glow with a red intensity. With incredible speed, he easily evades the punch, letting it fly harmlessly past him. Before the thug can react, Chen Zio seizes his wrist in an iron grip. The man screams as his hand is crushed. Without hesitation, Chen Zio delivers a devastating punch to the thug's face. The impact sends the man flying into the alley debris while the others watch in shock. At that moment, a system window appears in Chen Zio's vision, informing him that it detected intense negative emotions of fear, pain, and anger. A notification confirms the successful activation of the negative emotion harvesting system. Chen Zio freezes, surprised by the holographic interface. He realizes this system is a power he did not have in his past life. The gang leader grabs Li Yaoyu and rips her shirt. He holds her as a hostage, screaming that he will kill her if Chen Zio moves again. Suddenly, a brick hurtles down from a building above. It strikes the gang leader squarely in the face with brutal force, knocking him out instantly. As the two remaining thugs stare in shock, a man in a floral shirt lands confidently from the shadows. He mockingly asks where their shame is for ganging up on a girl. Enraged, the two thugs scream and charge with weapons drawn. Chen Zio effortlessly raises an arm, blocking a punch from one attacker. Simultaneously, the stranger in the floral shirt delivers a powerful high kick to the thug holding a bat. Chen Zio swiftly evades an attack, causing his opponent to stumble forward. He counters with a devastating punch to the bald thug's face. The two men fight in perfect sync, knocking their opponents into the air at the same time. The man in the floral shirt ruthlessly stomps on his opponent's chest to keep him down. With the thugs defeated, Chen Zio and the stranger stand together, dominating the scene. Chen Zio glares at the beaten men, his red eyes glowing, and coldly orders them to scram. As the thugs flee in terror, his system notifies him that he is harvesting their fear, panic, despair, and humiliation. This achievement unlocks the spatial expansion authority. The system encourages him to harvest diligently and make his power big and strong. Chen Zio smirks, finding this new ability to harvest negative emotions interesting. He approaches Li Yaoyu on the ground and offers her a hand. He thanks her, saying that although he didn't expect to meet her there, he is grateful. As he helps her up, he gently asks if she is hurt. Blushing and clutching her torn clothes, Li Yaoyu stammers her thanks and says she has something to do, needing to go first. Chen Zio watches her rush off and tells her to be careful. The man in the floral shirt approaches, complimenting Chen Zio's impressive hero saving the beauty act. He introduces himself as Mu Kang and asks for Chen Zio's name. Chen Zio realizes this is the contact he was looking for. He reveals he is the buyer who arranged to meet him, noting the coincidence. Mu Kang strikes a dramatic pose, shouting a secret code phrase about a Sky King and an Earth Tiger. Unimpressed, Chen Zio stares at him blankly and calls him a fool. The insult triggers the system, which detects and harvests emotions of being dumbfounded, dazed, and awkward from Mu Kang. Mu Kang coughs, claiming it was just a little joke to lighten the mood. He puts an arm around Chen Zio and leads him away. Later that night, they arrive at a secluded house. Mu Kang opens a box, revealing a handgun inside. He explains it's a sturdy Russian model, but warns there are not many bullets. Chen Zio inspects the gun while Mu Kang praises his skills and offers a friendship price. As Chen Zio handles the weapon expertly, Mu Kang notes that his movements are skilled. Holding the gun, Chen Zio cheekily asks if it comes with a silencer, a warranty card, and if Mu Kang can throw in another box of bullets. Mu Kang is shocked by the greedy demands. He shouts, asking if Chen Zio understands what a friendship price is. He trembles with frustration, thinking people in the black market would fight for this gun at double the price, yet this customer wants a warranty and gifts. Losing his patience, Mu Kang yells that Chen Zio isn't buying home appliances and might as well rob him. As he fumes, the system harvests his strong negative emotions of shock, heartache, and speechlessness. Satisfied, Chen Zio smiles and drops his requests, agreeing to the original price and transferring the money. With the deal done, he reflects that his supplies and guns are secured, with only one thing missing. At a luxurious hotel, Liu Wangqing waits in a red evening gown. Chen Zio arrives and wraps his arms around her from behind. She complains about how long he took, saying her legs are sore. She skeptically asks if the thing he mentioned is really risk-free. Chen Zio smoothly lies that it is just a formality, claiming he loves her too much to ever scam her. Internally, Liu Wangqing smirks, remembering how the simp once sold his blood to buy her a bag, convinced he lacks the guts to trick her. Later, in Zhang Yang's office, Liu Wangqing sits across from the mob boss. Zhang Yang compliments her for being straightforward as she signs the document. As her pen moves, he watches with a predatory gaze. He thinks to himself that this silly girl believes she is just a guarantor, but once she signs, the debt becomes hers. Zhang Yang lights a cigar and grins, imagining that when she can't pay it back, she can pay with her body. Chen Zio sits back on a nearby sofa, watching his plan unfold perfectly. He thinks her greed will perfectly pay off the remaining balance for his safe house. Later, Chen Zio stands outside his fortified building with the contractor. The man assures him all materials in the house are reinforced to the highest military standards, boasting it could even withstand a few waves of nukes. Chen Zio says the quality is good and thanks him. The contractor grins and tells him to call if he has more work. Alone inside his fortress, Chen Zio looks at a news alert on his tablet. The report warns of unprecedented super-strong solar flare activity. On television, a news anchor gravely reports that the entire globe will experience continuous extreme high-temperature weather. As the broadcast warns all citizens to prepare, Chen Zio calmly wipes down his handgun. He brings the weapon close, his expression focused, and whispers that it's finally here. Standing with the gun at his side, his eyes narrow with intense determination, confirming the apocalypse has arrived. He walks to the window to look at the city. A massive burning solar flare dominates the sky, bathing the world in a terrifying fiery light as the catastrophe begins. A news anchor reports that a super-strong solar flare is causing violent disturbances in Earth's ionosphere. Extreme high-temperature phenomena are appearing globally, with daytime highs expected to reach 45 degrees Celsius. The report advises citizens to take heatstroke prevention measures and avoid going out at noon. Chen Zio stands by his window, sweat pouring down his face, and knows that this is just the beginning. A blinding light scorches the city as the massive sun turns the metropolis into an oven. On a balcony, a woman splashes water on her face, complaining about the heat and wondering how long it will last. On the street below, a shop owner in a floral shirt uses a megaphone to address his neighbors. He warns them that the temperature will keep rising next week, and that a supply shortage is imminent. He urges everyone to hurry and buy from his last batch of stock before water and electricity are rationed. Wiping sweat from his brow, he grins, thinking the heatwave is basically sending money to his doorstep and that he'd be letting himself down if he didn't make a fortune. A group of women asks the boss if he can make his expensive melons cheaper. He leers at one of the women, commenting on how sweet his melon is and offering her a taste. He tells her that if she buys two, he'll give a 20% discount and a free pack of tissues. He then creepily suggests she can come to his place at night to enjoy the air conditioning. The woman nervously declines, saying they'll just buy one. He leans in uncomfortably close, pressuring her to buy more and stock up. His attitude changes when two men ask him to make his water cheaper. He angrily points at them, shouting that it's a small business with absolutely no bargaining. Unbeknownst to him, Chen Zio watches him from the shade with a cold, silent gaze. Chen Zio's eyes narrow as he recognizes the shop owner as Li Dafu, triggering a painful memory from his past life. He recalls Li Dafu shouting to a crowd, accusing a younger Chen Zio of stealing and claiming to have caught him red-handed. When the boy explained he just saw an item fall and wanted to put it back, Li Dafu mocked him. He demanded payment or threatened to send him to the police station. The memory shows bystanders judging him, gossiping about his parents' teaching and taking his silence as an admission of guilt. Young Chen Zio wept, stuttering that he didn't steal, but no one believed him. Back in the present, Chen Zio stands in the shop and sees a price tag on a shelf. A pack of onion potato chips costs an outrageous 50 yuan, marked as a manager recommendation. Chen Zio picks up the bag and sarcastically asks Li Dafu if his chips are made of gold or can prevent heat stroke. The system activates, notifying him it has detected a strong negative emotion of disdain from the shop owner. Losing patience, Li Dafu snatches the chips away, yelling at Chen Zio to get lost if he can't afford it. The system chimes again, detecting irritation. Unfazed, Chen Zio smirks and taunts the boss about hoarding so many treasures, warning him to be careful of getting robbed. Li Dafu explodes with rage, demanding to know who Chen Zio is, cursing and asking if the heat has made him crazy. Chen Zio remains calm and asks if Li Dafu has been suffering from insomnia, dreams, weak knees, and night sweats lately. Caught off guard, Li Dafu admits that he has a little bit. He grows anxious, wondering aloud if his warehouse has a feng shui problem. Chen Zio leans in, gravely declaring that Li Dafu's yintang is dark. He suddenly slaps the shopkeeper across the face, sending the man spinning with unfocused eyes. Chen Zio diagnoses this as a typical deficiency. Enraged, Li Dafu screams that Chen Zio's whole family has a deficiency and tries to kick him. Chen Zio easily evades the attack. While Li Dafu fumes, Chen Zio mockingly advises him to watch his health because great anger hurts the body. As he leaves, he tosses a coin and coldly predicts that if Lee Dafu doesn't pay attention, he might die young. The coin hits the floor. Immediately, the system glows red, notifying Chen Zio that it detected a strong negative emotion of anger, plus 20. Later that night, a black cat passes the dark supermarket. Chen Zio stands before the glass doors, reflecting that in his past life he swallowed his anger, but in this life he will claim it all back with interest. A sinister look crosses his face as he checks his system. He notes that the emotions contributed by Li Dafu are just right to use for the spatial expansion he unlocked earlier. He consumes 20 negative emotion points, completing a storage space expansion of an additional 200 cubic meters. He raises his hand as a swirling black void manifests in his palm. A confident smile plays on his lips as he prepares for his revenge. The next day, Li Dafu walks towards his store, unaware of what awaits. Chen Zio watches from nearby bushes. Li Dafu freezes, his jaw dropping as he looks through the supermarket's glass doors. He stumbles inside and stands paralyzed. The shelves, once fully stocked, are now completely empty. Li Dafu's face darkens with rage as he wonders where his goods went. Unable to contain his fury, he screams, demanding to know who the hell did it. Far away in his safe house, Chen Zio watches a live video of Li Dafu's breakdown. The system notifies him that he has harvested 66 more negative emotion points. Chen Zio calmly sips a cold drink, smiling with satisfaction as he watches his enemies suffering. Inside the empty store, Li Dafu screams, demanding to know who stole his stock and telling them to get out there. Overwhelmed by impotent fury, he collapses to the floor and screams. A crowd of confused customers watches. One man asks if everything was really gone in just one night, while another wonders if Li Dafu could be staging it to hike up prices. A third person worries about what they will do later now that the supermarket is empty. Two women discuss a rumor, one claiming that someone saw a dark shadow float in last night. The other woman asks if she is sure about that. Li Dafu overhears this and becomes terrified, wondering if his store is haunted. An invisible system interface tallies the strong negative emotions from the crowd, detecting anger, fear, and suspicion. Chen Zio watches with a satisfied smile, noting that Li Dafu's emotional output is quite stable as he eats a chip from a bag. His expression turns sinister as his eyes glow red, and he decides to add some fuel to the fire and give Li Dafu a little thrill. He walks past the kneeling Li Dafu, loudly commenting on how good the chips smell. Li Dafu stares at the bag of chips in Chen Zio's hands, recognizing the packaging and realizing it's his stock. Chen Zio holds up the bag and mockingly repeats his question from the previous day about the chips being made of gold or preventing heat stroke. He also repeats his ominous warning about hoarding treasures and watching out for thieves. Enraged, Li Dafu grabs Chen Zio by the wrist, demanding to know where he got the chips and accusing him of stealing his goods while still daring to be so arrogant. Chen Zio feigns a look of surprise. He calmly asks Boss Li if he has any evidence for getting physical. Smirking, he warns the owner that he will have to take responsibility for making accusations without evidence. He then mocks how clean the supermarket is, noting not even a chip is left, and insultingly offers Li Dafu the remaining half bag. Desperate to cover his losses, Li Dafu decides to frame the wimp. He shakes Chen Zio, yelling that since he cursed him yesterday and is now eating the missing goods, he must be the one who stole them. The system registers a spike in anger from the shop owner. Chen Zio addresses the crowd, asking if other stores can't sell chips and suggesting Boss Li wants to pin the loss of his own stock on him. Onlookers agree that other places sell these chips too. One man notes that it's too coincidental that Chen Zio complained about the price yesterday and the supermarket is empty today. Li Dafu sweats, wondering how this wimp suddenly toughened up. Chen Zio makes a bet. He tells Boss Li that he can search his house, and if he finds any of the store's items, he will pay back 10 times the value. However, if Li Dafu doesn't find anything, the backup generator at his back door will belong to Chen Zio. Blinded by rage, Li Dafu accepts the search, vowing to see how long Chen Zio can pretend. He leads Chen Zio and the crowd away, thinking it will be better if they find the items. But if not, Chen Zio can keep dreaming about getting the generator. The group arrives at Chen Zio's opulent house. Li Dafu is shocked, wondering when this kid got so rich and thinking he really hid his light under a bushel. He stares in awe at the expensive crystal chandelier, high-end suits in the closet, and a fridge full of luxury food. He even finds a safe full of gold bars but no stolen goods. Panic sets in as he realizes his mistake. Chen Zio mocks him, asking if he has searched enough or wants to pry up the floorboards too. Humiliated, Li Dafu stammers that there's no need and tries to rush out, saying he will ask other places. As he flees, the system registers a surge of embarrassment. Chen Zio stops him, grabbing his shirt and reminding him about the agreed-upon generator. He turns to the crowd, asking if Boss Li is trying to renege on their deal. Trapped, Lee Dafu tries to de-escalate, telling the young man to take a step back and not make things so ugly. Chen Zio leans in, asking why Lee Dafu didn't talk about taking a step back when he was framing him. The system registers a spike of impatience from Lee Dafu. Hearing the onlookers mock his lack of integrity, he snaps. He screams that he gave the kid face, but he didn't take it, and throws a punch. Chen Zio easily catches his hand, twisting his wrist. Lee Dafu screams in agony that his hand is breaking as he is forced to the ground. The system detects a massive surge of pain. Unable to bear it, Lee Dafu yields, shouting that he'll move it right now. Chen Zio coldly tells him to be quick, because he won't be able to go out once the temperature rises. He taunts Lee Dafu, asking what he will do without a generator when the power is rationed in a few days. The system rewards Chen Zio with a flood of points for humiliation, pain, and fear. Chen Zio is back home when his phone rings with an incoming call from Liu Wangqing. She appears on the screen, looking furious. She yells that for the past 2 days, a few people who seem to be debt collectors have been following her. Chen Zio remains detached as she screams, demanding to know why they are stalking her when he said she was just signing something. On the video call, Liu Wangqing demands the truth, asking why people from the Dahai gang are looking for her and if he lied to her. Feigning heartbreak, Chen Zio asks his baby why she always doesn't trust him. He walks through his apartment, saying that he's paid so much for her and poured his heart out, so her words make him sad. Internally, he smirks, thinking that the bunch of perverts from the Dahai gang are even more impatient than he imagined. He casually asks Liu Wangqing if the Dahai gang members following her know where she lives and what they said. Stressed, Liu Wangqing explains that they don't know her address yet and she took small roads to shake them off. She warns him not to play tricks on her. Chen Zio calmly tells her not to overthink it, suggesting she might have mistaken someone else for them. He sits down at his table where a luxury meal of grilled salmon, salad, and a cold soda waits. Liu Wangqing's expression shifts to shock as she spots the food on his table. She asks how he still has these things. Chen Zio shows a can of soda to the camera, boasting that he has plenty in stock. Intrigued, Liu Wangqing asks if he really has a lot. Relaxing on her bed, her mind races, wondering if he really struck it rich, since supplies are only given to the wealthy during the heat wave. Chen Zio sips his cold drink and says one has to have a bite of this when the weather is hot. He then takes a bite of the salmon. Liu Wangqing stares, stunned that he has salmon. Overcome with desire, she thinks that she really wants to eat it. Feigning concern, Chen Zio asks if his baby has enough to eat over there. Liu Wangqing says his name, claiming she is really scared living alone. She adds that she keeps feeling like the debt collectors are still nearby. She seductively asks if she can go stay at his place for a few days. With a cigarette in her hand, she says she can keep him company. Chen Zio grins while eating a piece of salmon, thinking she has taken the bait, hook, line, and sinker. He mocks her internally for being so cheap. He reminds her that she always acted mysterious and never let him visit, claiming a girl shouldn't give her address to others casually. He tells her it will get hotter later and be inconvenient to go out, offering to pick her up tonight when it cools down if she sends him her address. Liu Wangqing dismisses her past behavior, saying the situation is special now. Since he is her boyfriend, she expects him to protect her and she sends the address. Chen Zio looks at his phone with a dark expression and tells her to wait obediently at home and not run around. Unaware of the trap, she thinks to herself that a simp is just a simp, wagging their tail at the first sign of sweetness. Chen Zio smirks, thinking that she used to act so high and mighty, but now voluntarily hands over her apartment number for a bite to eat. His thoughts are interrupted by loud knocking at his front door. A middle-aged woman and a young boy bang on the door, with the woman calling for Chen Zio to open up. He walks to the door and opens it, sarcastically asking Auntie Wang if something is up. Auntie Wang feels the cool air and tries to push inside. She claims her air conditioner broke and the child can't stand the heat, insisting they should help each other as neighbors. Chen Zio shoves her back. He coldly reminds her of when he was little and picked up plastic bottles with his mom downstairs. He recalls how she pointed at their noses, called them poor beggars, and told security to chase them away. A flashback shows the cruel scene where Auntie Wang yelled at his younger self and his mother to get lost. Back in the present, Auntie Wang is furious, shouting that it was so many years ago. She screams at him for holding a grudge and having no human touch at all. Chen Zio sarcastically agrees that he has no human touch, but he does have air conditioning. He slams the door shut. Enraged, Auntie Wang bangs on the door, calling him a heartless wretch and an uneducated thing, saying he deserved his parents dying early. Her fury triggers the system, detecting strong negative emotions of anger. Inside, Chen Zio stands in the dark, silent and indifferent. He goes to his desk and swaps his phone's SIM card. He dials a contact saved as Dahai Gang. He tells them he knows Liu Wangqing's address and has sent it to them. He adds that she lives alone and is very easy to find. Secure in his fortress, he walks to his balcony. Looking over the city, he says Liu Wangqing's name and declares that the show begins. Meanwhile, Liu Wangqing admires her reflection in the mirror. She smiles confidently, thinking about how soon she will be able to move into Chen Zio's air-conditioned room. She daydreams about a life of luxury, imagining Chen Zio kneeling to serve her. Sitting on her bed, she concludes that only that kind of carefree life is worthy of her. Feeling relaxed and self-satisfied, she lights a cigarette. Just then, a knock sounds at her door. Assuming it's her eager simp, she gets up from her bed. Peeking through the door with a sly smile, she greets the visitor, asking why they are so early. Internally, she mocks him for being a truly qualified and eager simp. Her smug smile instantly vanishes, replaced by pure shock. Her eyes widen in horror. Standing before her is not Chen Zio, but the imposing figure of Zhang Yang, flanked by his men. Terrified, she stammers, asking how they could possibly know she lives there. Zhang Yang ruthlessly slaps her across the face. He tells Miss Liu that the money she owes to their Dahai gang is due to be paid back today. Liu Wangqing stumbles and falls to the floor in a panic. She screams that Chen Zio was the one who borrowed the money and that he tricked her into signing, telling them to go find him instead. Unimpressed, Zhang Yang holds up the signed contract in her face. He yells that it's signed by her in black and white, and whoever signs is the one who pays, telling her to cut the crap. He orders his men to search the apartment and find all the valuable goods. As his thugs begin smashing her furniture, a desperate Liu Wangqing screams at them to stop rummaging. She insists that she is calling Chen Zio and that he will be there right away for them to look for. Zhang Yang ignores her, casually sitting on her sofa. Her valuables, including luxury handbags and jewelry, are piled on the coffee table in front of him. Liu Wangqing stands terrified as he inspects her possessions. Zhang Yang holds up a handbag with disdain, remarking that these meager scraps are not even enough to cover the interest on her debt. With a greedy grin, he reminds her that his brothers didn't run all the way there in the hot weather just to leave empty-handed. He and his men stand up, closing in and casting a large shadow over her. Liu Wangqing backs away in fear, begging them not to come over and insisting that the money is with Chen Zio. Zhang Yang just maintains a cruel, predatory smile. Panicking, Liu Wangqing tries to bargain, revealing that Chen Zio also has a lot of supplies. She urges them to wait, explaining that he is coming to pick her up soon and that they can ask him for the money then. She quickly dials Chen Zio's number, but an automated voice says the number is currently unavailable. A single bead of sweat rolls down her cheek as she listens to the recording. She stares at her phone screen, where the call continues to ring but goes unanswered. Her face pales as the realization dawns on her. She stammers that no one is answering, a look of pure panic on her face as she wonders how this could be. Desperate to buy time, she forces a trembling smile. She tries to convince the gang that he must just be busy and didn't hear the ring, promising she will call again right now. Zhang Yang loses his patience, telling the broad she is truly stupid. He reveals the cruel truth, explaining that the wimp sold her out and never intended to pay the money back when he tricked her into signing. Liu Wangqing stands frozen, pale with shock as the full weight of her betrayal sinks in. Zhang Yang suddenly grabs her ruthlessly by the hair. She screams in pain, pleading for him to let her go and shouting that they should go find Chen Zio because he has the things they want. Ignoring her screams, the mob boss drags her across the room towards the bedroom. Her frantic cries fill the apartment as the bedroom door slams shut with a heavy thud. On the floor of the ransacked living room, Liu Wangqing's shattered phone lies abandoned, the call still ringing into the empty space. Meanwhile, Chen Zio sits comfortably in his fortified, air-conditioned safe house. Holding a glass of wine, he watches his computer screen, satisfied. With a smug smile, he wishes for Liu Wangqing to have a good taste of the apocalypse's passion. Back in Liu Wangqing's dark apartment, the ordeal is over. Zhang Yang sits shirtless on the edge of the bed. Curled under the sheets, Liu Wangqing sobs quietly. He picks up a mug, his interest piqued by what she said earlier. He leans over her and grabs her throat, demanding she repeat what good stuff Chen Zio has at his place. Beaten and terrified, she cries out, frantically listing air conditioning, iced drinks, and lots of food. She gasps that his home has everything. She begs him to go find Chen Zio, insisting he is the person they should be looking for and that she has nothing left. Zhang Yang listens, a look of interest crossing his face. Satisfied with this new information, he tosses her onto the bed. He stands over her broken form, rubbing his chin and musing that with air conditioning and supplies, they've caught a big fish this time. With a greedy smile, he tells his men it's time to go. The gang leaves, closing the door on the trashed apartment. Alone in the dark, Liu Wangqing curls up on the bed, covered in bruises and wrapped in a sheet. Her tears of despair turn to pure hatred. Shaking with fury, she curses Chen Zio for tricking her, vowing that he will die a horrible death. At night, outside Chen Zio's apartment building, a group of people marches with hostile intent. Their footsteps echo on the street. His treacherous neighbor, Auntie Wang, leads a gang of thugs toward his fortress. She points at the building, telling them that the little beast Chen Zio lives right there. She tempts them with the promise that his AC is on 24 hours a day, and that he has plenty to eat and drink. She calls him extremely stingy, claiming he won't even share a sip of water. The scarred leader of the gang compliments the old hag for leading the way well. He promises her there will be plenty of benefits for her once they get the stuff. Overjoyed, Auntie Wang thanks Brother Zhang, calling him truly generous, and saying it's no wonder he could become a big boss. She imagines a scenario where Chen Zio begs for his life, offering his home to the gang. A malicious grin spreads across her face as she thinks about how arrogant he can be this time. The group gathers on the sidewalk below the building. The scarred leader pauses, looking up at the fortress with suspicion and realizing this kid has something going on. One of his men, however, is less cautious. A blonde thug with a baseball bat eagerly tells Brother Zhang to watch him kick the door down. He charges toward the entrance. As his foot lands, it triggers a hidden high-voltage trap. Blue electricity zaps him and he screams in agony, his body convulsing violently. He collapses to the ground, twitching as the current courses through him. The scarred leader, unaware of the trap, looks down and calls him trash, asking why he cramped up. Another thug rushes to help his fallen comrade. When he touches the man's shoulder, the electricity arcs to him, shocking them both. They scream for help as their silhouettes are illuminated by the bright blue current. Auntie Wang and the scarred leader freeze in shock. Suddenly, a loudspeaker on the building's roof activates. They and the remaining gang members look up in confusion. Instead of an alarm, a cheerful song about good luck, joy, and love blasts from the speakers. The upbeat music plays ironically as the trap continues to electrocute the men on the ground. The leader and Auntie Wang jump back from the current, cursing in fear. Chen Zio's system registers that it has harvested negative emotions of being dumbfounded from the crowd. Inside his safe house, Chen Zio eats a popsicle while watching the scene unfold on his monitors. He speaks into a microphone, mocking his brothers for their bad luck in stepping right onto the protective electric grid. Outside, the furious leader points his weapon at the building, screaming for Chen Zio to cut the crap and pay his debts. Auntie Wang joins in, yelling that he had money to renovate but not to pay his debts, and she insults his parents' upbringing. Chen Zio responds calmly through the loudspeaker. He smiles coldly, stating that the market price of his apartment is 4 million, more than enough to offset the 3.5 million loan. He tells Brother Zhang to consider the debt settled with the house. As for Liu Wangqing's debt, he says they should go find her as it has nothing to do with him. The gang leader trembles with rage, knowing that right now, supplies are king and everything else is nonsense. Chen Zio continues to taunt him over the intercom. Biting his popsicle, he advises Brother Zhang that a wise man submits to circumstances and suggests they part on good terms while he's in a good mood. His expression turns cold as he warns them that if they keep looking for trouble, he won't be so polite anymore. His hand hovers over a large red button on his desk. He presses it. Outside, the trap unleashes a massive wave of electric energy across the entire entrance. The thugs scream as the electricity shows their skeletons like an X-ray. One of them yells to the boss that he can't hold on anymore. Chen Zio's system registers points for their intense pain and despair. When the electricity stops, the gang is unharmed but terrified. The leader stares at the building, knowing they can't get in. He retreats, screaming a final threat that the Dahai gang won't let Chen Zio off. Auntie Wang is left behind, her face filled with horror and hatred as her plan to use the gang against him has failed. The building stands under a blood-red sky, a silent fortress against the apocalyptic heat. The next day, the temperature reaches a deadly 52 degrees Celsius. The streets are deserted and baking under the oppressive sun. Inside, Chen Zio relaxes on his sofa in the cool air, enjoying fresh fruit and feeling refreshed. A news report on TV issues a high-temperature warning, reporting recent deaths from heatstroke and advising citizens to avoid going out. Chen Zio's peace is interrupted by a series of notifications on his phone. He sees that the homeowners group chat is exploding with messages. Auntie Wang tags him, asking if he is even human for having food, drink, and AC while watching the elderly and children die from the heat. Another neighbor calls him selfish and unfit to be a neighbor. More messages flood in, with one person insisting that resources must be shared in extraordinary times, calling him a murderer otherwise. Others write that they are about to die from the heat and demand he come out and give everyone an explanation. Chen Zio sips a cold drink, calmly scrolling through the angry messages with a detached look. His system detects massive spikes of jealousy and anger from his neighbors. A red system notification appears, informing him that his total negative emotion value has exceeded 1,000, and it is now calculating his rewards. Inside his climate-controlled safe house, Chen Zio stands before his open refrigerator. He smirks, taking a photo of his well-stocked shelves to taunt his suffering neighbors. He posts the picture to the homeowners group chat, casually writing that his stockpile is indeed quite large and that if they want some, they can sign up. The chat explodes with desperate pleas from his neighbors, begging him to share a little. Auntie Wang shamelessly asks him to send some food over, claiming her legs aren't good, while another person demands he bring them 2 cases of water first. Chen Zio's expression turns cold. He replies to the group that he is not running a charity and will only accept trades for something of equal value, adding that he refuses freeloaders. The neighbor's begging instantly turns to fury. One person calls him a selfish little brat, telling him to hurry up and share. Another declares they've seen his true colors, and that hell will get his karma for refusing to save the dying. A third person warns him not to think he will have it easy if they starve to death. Chen Zio leans back on his sofa with a fresh apple. Suddenly, a system notification announces that his negative emotion value has reached 3000, unlocking a skill upgrade, Spatial Cut at the beginner level. The skill creates a microscopic rift in the air that can cut any object within 3 meters. Intrigued, he activates the skill. He focuses on an apple on the table. With a swift hand wave, an invisible blade slices the apple perfectly in half. Chen Zio smiles, thinking this is getting interesting. That night, an orange off-road vehicle pulls up on a deserted street. A woman in red high heels steps out. It is Liu Wangqing, dressed in a black evening gown, looking arrogant and vengeful. Suited bodyguards stand by as mob boss Zhang Yang lights a cigar inside the vehicle, preparing for a raid. On the street, Zhang Yang asks his subordinate, Little Zhang, to confirm if Chen Zio lives here. His man confirms the target is in the innermost building. To assert his dominance, Zhang Yang puts his arm around Liu Wangqing, teasingly asking if her heart will ache seeing him lead a team to raid her former man's home. Liu Wangqing leans into him seductively, claiming her heart only holds him now. She calls Chen Zio a useless piece of trash, her face twisting with fury as she declares that tonight is his death date. Their conversation is interrupted when Zhang Yang spots figures approaching from the residential complex. It's Li Dafu, the supermarket owner, and a neighbor. Driven by greed, they offer to help teach Chen Zio a lesson and block his escape routes, hoping for a reward. Zhang Yang agrees, telling them he'll share some of the stuff from Chen Zio's room if they help him. Li Dafu, thinking he's safe, eagerly calls the mob boss Big Brother and offers to show them a shortcut. Meanwhile, other residents are looting supplies from a store on the street, unaware of the approaching gang. As Li Dafu leads the gang through the complex, he points to his own home to show they are on the same side. One of Zhang Yang's thugs coldly states that the entire building now belongs to Liu. Panic sets in as the treacherous neighbors realize the gang intends to take everything. Auntie Wang screams that they didn't provoke the gang, while Li Dafu cries out that he was truly blind to trust these beasts. The mob shows no mercy, beating down the residents. With the neighbors subdued, Zhang Yang, Liu Wangqing, and their armed thugs proceed to their main target. As they gather at the base of Chen Zio's building, a massive armchair suddenly crashes onto the pavement in front of them. Chen Zio calmly eats a steak inside, then appears sitting in the armchair looking down at the mob. He asks with a smirk if everyone is looking for me. Zhang Yang, holding Liu Wangqing, yells up, demanding the supplies and threatening to leave Chen Zio's corpse intact. Chen Zio ignores the threat and calmly wipes his mouth. His eyes glow menacingly as he scolds the mob boss, telling him his parents should have taught him not to disturb people while they're eating because it's very rude. Enraged by his arrogance, Zhang Yang screams at his men to cripple him. A chaotic street brawl ensues. Chen Zio weaves through the attackers, easily dodging a punch. He grabs one thug's head and ruthlessly smashes it into the ground. A muscular thug with a mohawk leaps into the air, swinging a spiked flail. Chen Zio sidesteps as the weapon hits the pavement and counters with a powerful kick to the thug's jaw. Another gang member charges with an axe. Chen Zio remains calm, activating his spatial segmentation skill to intercept the attack. Suddenly, a yellow canister lands next to Zhang Yang and Liu Wangqing. It detonates, filling the street with a massive cloud of tear gas. Coughing, Zhang Yang realizes what it is and fears an ambush from a helper, ordering his gang to retreat first. Inside the thick smoke, Chen Zio dodges a final wild swing from a thug's axe. He spots a figure leaning against a building. The stranger comments that the trouble Chen Zio stirred up isn't small, but admits his skills are not bad. Chen Zio glares suspiciously and asks why he is here. The figure steps forward, revealing himself to be Mu Kang, the arms dealer in the floral shirt. He tosses a gas canister in his hand, asking if Chen Zio still wants guns because he has good goods here. Mu Chang stares enviously at Chen Zio's cooler box and comments on how comfortable his life is, drinking ice water at a time like this. Chen Zio tosses him a bottle of water but then asks why he is there, nodding that his territory isn't on this side. Mu Chang explains that Liu Heifeng's men have been stealing his business lately, and he has been watching him for days. He says he saw him coming this way and followed to take a look, but he didn't expect he was coming for Chen Zio. He then comments on Chen Zio's impressive stockpile, assuming he has special channels to get it. Chen Zio's eyes narrow as he asks what he is trying to say. Mu Chang quickly reassures him that he's not trying to pry. He reveals that Liu Heifeng has stockpiled a lot of purified water recently, and he wants to cooperate with Chen Zio to get it. He explains that he is familiar with the layout of Liu Heifeng's underground business, and suggests that Chen Zio find a way to get the water. He proposes that once it's done, they store it at Chen Zio's place first, and he will find a way to sell it. Chen Zio contemplates the offer, acknowledging that water resources are hard currency as the temperature rises. He agrees that cooperation is fine but then demands a 9-to-1 profit split, with him getting 9 parts. Outraged, Mu Chang shouts at the big brother, asking why he doesn't just rob him. The system notifies Chen Zio that it detected a strong negative emotion of shock. Unmoved, Chen Zio says that if he is not willing, then there's nothing to talk about. Desperate, Mu Chang abandons his dignity, clings to Chen Zio's leg, and begs for an 8-2 split so he can eat too. Internally, Mu Chang recognizes Chen Zio's confidence and realizes he must have a trump card, concluding he is the most suitable partner he can find. Satisfied, Chen Zio agrees that 8-2 works. However, he adds a condition. In the future, if Mu Chang gets new goods, he gets the first pick, and Mu Chang sells what he leaves behind. Resigned, Mu Chang sighs and agrees that Chen Zio wins. With the deal made, Chen Zio outlines the first step, to figure out the stronghold's structure and personnel distribution. Later, the two overlook a massive industrial complex. Mu Chang explains that it is Liu Heifeng's stronghold with the trading area in the front. People short on water either spend money or exchange things for it. He also reveals that there are quite a few girls who were captured to provide special services to the upper management. Among them is Liu Wangqing, looking terrified in a red dress as a guard handles her. Mu Chang points out the water storage area is in the back, but admits he hasn't figured out the exact location yet. Chen Zio reveals his plan. He will sneak in alone to take a look, and when Mu Chang sees the signal, he will create chaos on the perimeter to draw away the main force. Mu Chang asks how he is going to move the water alone. Chen Zio simply says he has his ways. He moves confidently through the facility, but a guard quickly stops him, nodding his unfamiliar face and demanding ID. Chen Zio calmly says Boss Liu sent him to count the water stock. The guard laughs, mocking the childish trick. The system registers the guard's mockery. Chen Zio decides it's time to use his spatial cut on something different than apples. He suddenly swipes an ID card past the guard's neck. Infused with his spatial power, the card slices through his throat like a razor. The guard collapses as blood sprays from the fatal wound. Another guard witnesses the scene and panics. Chen Zio's system registers the horror and pain from his victim. The shocked guard opens fire. Chen Zio moves with superhuman agility, easily evading the bullets. He retaliates with a long-range spatial slash which slices the second guard in half mid-stride. The system notifies Chen Zio he has harvested a massive amount of fear and despair. Gunshots echo through the stronghold and reinforcements rush to the scene. Chen Zio hides in the shadows against a concrete wall, and the guards run past without noticing him. Suddenly, a hand emerges from the shadows and touches his back. The stronghold is in chaos as armed guards search for the intruder. The figure in the shadows is Li Yaoyu, who signals him to be quiet. Crouched behind a shed, Chen Zio asks her why she is there. She explains she was captured and assumes he was too. Chen Zio asks if she knows where the water stockpile is. She nods, explaining they made her clean up, so she has figured out the layout and will take him there. Li Yaoyu hurls a metal bucket into a courtyard as a distraction, causing the guards to rush towards the noise. Seizing the opportunity, she leads Chen Zio down a narrow alley, telling him there are no surveillance cameras this way. They reach a large metal door, and Chen Zio tells her to find a place to hide and wait for him to come out. Alone, he activates his spatial ability, punching a hole through the brick wall and entering the building. Inside, a startled guard demands to know who it is. Chen Zio glares with glowing red eyes. He unleashes a deadly spatial slash, slicing the guard's neck before he can react. As the guard collapses, the system notifies Chen Zio that it has harvested a massive amount of shock, fear, and pain. Peering from her hiding spot, Li Yaoyu begins to worry. She thinks that Chen Zio has been inside for a long time and hopes nothing has happened to him. As she anxiously looks inside, she is horrified by the sight of destruction, causing her to cry out in shock. A figure emerges from the ruins and she panics, but then realizes it is Chen Zio. He calmly tells her that it's handled and they should go. He then pulls out a gun and fires a single shot into the air, creating an explosion high above. Li Yaoyu is startled by the noise, but Chen Zio just laughs. Meanwhile, Mu Chang sees the signal in the sky and remarks that the guy Chen Zio is not bad. He then throws several fire bottles onto the ground, causing a series of explosions that set the area ablaze. People shout as the fire spreads, trying desperately to put it out, creating the perfect distraction. With the area in chaos, Chen Zhao and Li Yaoyu easily make their way to another area. Li Yaoyu points the way, explaining that the alley ahead leads to the outskirts of the south gate. As they proceed, a woman suddenly rushes up from behind and calls out Chen Zhao's name, begging him to take her with him. It is Liu Wangqing. Chen Zhao turns as she pleads, asking him to take her for the sake of their past relationship. She promises that if he takes her away, she won't hold it against him that he used her name to take out loans. Chen Zhao coldly tells the big sister that she really doesn't understand the situation. Hearing this, Liu Wangqing breaks down in tears. She sobs that in this place, they force her every day to service those old men. She explains that they beat her if she resists and bring her back if she runs. She cries that she has nowhere else to go and begs him to let her live with him, promising to do anything for him. Chen Zhao reminds her of how she laughed at him for having no money, called him a simp, slept with old men behind his back, and led Liu Heifeng to kill him. He asks her if she ever thought today would come. She becomes terrified as she realizes the weight of her actions. Chen Zhao's thoughts darken as he remembers his past life. He wonders if she ever thought this day would come when she dismembered him back then. He coldly slaps her aside, telling her that her acting is still so lousy. He turns to Li Yaoyu and tells her let's go. Li Yaoyu silently hopes that Liu Wangqing learns a lesson from this. Suddenly, Liu Wangqing snaps, screaming that if he won't let her live, then no one will have it easy. A system notification immediately detects an intense negative emotion of hatred plus 999. Not long after the boss of the area, Liu Heifeng, arrives. He immediately asks where the water is and if his water is okay. When his men open the storage door, they find it completely empty, with words written on the wall. The message states that Boss Liu's water has been taken, and next time his life will be taken. Liu Heifeng furiously screams, demanding to know who did this. At that moment, Liu Wangqing speaks up from the ground. She tells Boss Liu it was Chen Zhao, lying that she tried to stop him but he injured her. She clings to him, adding that Chen Zhao called him trash, unworthy of possessing these resources, and that he wants to kill all of them. Enraged, Liu Heifeng orders everyone to follow him to the south gate to slaughter that bastard. Chen and Mu Chang see the commotion from a distance, and Mu Chang comments on it. Chen calmly notes that Boss Liu moves fast. As Liu Heifeng's forces charge, with the boss screaming for them to get him, Chen Zhao casually throws a torch. It ignites a wall of fire, forcing them to a halt. Liu Heifeng shouts through the flames that he will make sure Chen Zhao dies. Another system notification appears, detecting an intense negative emotion of hatred plus 999. Chen Zhao sarcastically thanks Boss Liu, saying he'll take these emotion points. A new notification then pops up, announcing that his negative emotion points have reached 3,000, unlocking a new skill, Spatial Barrier. Inside the safe house, Chen Zhao and his companions celebrate their recent victory. Mu Chang laughs, saying that what happened was too awesome, and that he bets old dog Liu is tearing his house apart right now. They sit around a table laden with delicious food, feasting without a care in the world. Li Yaoyu sincerely thanks Chen Zhao, telling him that if it weren't for him, she doesn't know how much longer she would have been stuck in that hellhole. She feels she can now trust people again. Chen Zhao reminds her that they are old classmates, and there is no need to be so polite. Mu Chang then chimes in, joking that Chen Zhao's hero saves the beauty move was pretty brilliant. He asks for the lowdown on how he emptied the entire reservoir by himself, wondering if it was fucking magic. Chen Zhao simply replies that he has his ways, and tells Mu Chang to focus on how to safely sell all the water they now have. Mu Chang freezes, realizing the difficulty of the task. Chen Zhao then casually asks Li Yaoyu what happened after junior high, mentioning he never heard any news about her. Li Yaoyu hesitates before explaining that her family had some accidents after graduation and that her parents went missing at the same time. As she speaks, memories of a fire overwhelm her. Suddenly, flames erupt outside. Mu Chang yells, "Holy crap, it's on fire outside." They look out in shock as massive flames engulf the area. A person outside is holding a child, desperately screaming for help. Mu Chang realizes it must be Liu Heifeng's doing, wondering if the bastard is trying to drive everyone to death. Li Yaoyu anxiously asks if they should do something. Chen Zhao remains silent, realizing Liu Heifeng is trying to use morality and innocent lives to bind him. He thinks to himself that he is long past being that rotten do-gooder from his past life who would get strangled to death. Outside, Liu Heifeng shouts for Chen Zhao to come out, threatening to burn the whole area to ash to see how long his iron turtle shell can last. One of Liu Heifeng's underlings flatters him, saying the boss is wise and that even if they don't burn to death, the smoke will kill them. Liu Heifeng smirks, thinking this is the price for fighting with him. The fire rages, causing nearby buildings to collapse and fueling the inferno. Inside, Mu Chang panics, warning that the heat will conduct inside and they will be roasted dry or run out of oxygen. Chen Zhao just smiles, thinking that in a high-temperature apocalypse, he wouldn't be stupid enough not to install the highest standard fire protection system. He presses a red button on his console. Outside, hidden devices activate and spray fire-suppressant smoke across the area, rapidly extinguishing the flames. Mu Chang is stunned, shouting that it's nanograde aerogel and asking how he could have gotten his hands on such military-grade technology. Liu Yaoyu is also completely stunned by the sight. Outside, Liu Heifeng scoffs, calling it a death struggle. He orders his men to continue, yelling that he doesn't believe that piece of junk is infinite. One of his men panics, stuttering that the fuel is almost out and that the white mist is too wicked. At that moment, Chen Zio's voice echoes out from the shelter. He mockingly asks Boss Liu if he's had enough of playing with fire and offers him a glass of ice water to cool down. A system notification immediately pops up, showing that Chen Zio has detected a strong negative emotion of anger, plus 888. The boss, seething, changes his mind, deciding that just killing Chen Zio would be letting him off too easy. He realizes this fireproof, sturdy, and self-sufficient house is the perfect shelter, and it must be his. Since brute force and fire attacks were ineffective, he decides he will no longer hold back. He looks towards the innocent civilians nearby, and a look of pure fear spreads across their faces. Chen Zio understands what is about to happen, but he is prepared. With the surrounding area engulfed in flames, Boss Liu shouts for Chen Zio to get the hell out. He points at the nearby civilians and yells that they are suffering because of him. The auntie he was holding hostage chimes in, calling Chen Zio a damn little brat and blaming him for dragging them down with him. Another man, armed with a bat, shouts at Liu Heifeng, calling him a bastard and threatening to fight him to the death. Chen Zio observes this and thinks to himself that using other people's lives to blackmail him is an old tactic, and in this world, being soft-hearted is no different from suicide. Liu Heifeng sneers, threatening to start with the old thing if Chen Zio wants to be a coward. He grabs an elderly man who is trembling with fear. A voice shouts out that Liu Heifeng will die a horrible death for doing this. Chen Zio recognizes the hostage as Grandpa Wang. He remembers a time when Grandpa Wang brought him water and encouraged him to survive, saying that as long as he's alive, there's hope. The memory sparks real anger in him. He turns to Mu Kang, telling him to stay inside and protect Yaoyu while he goes out to settle the score with Boss Liu. Chen Zio walks out into the inferno, calmly telling Liu Heifeng that their grievance is between them and has nothing to do with anyone else. Liu Heifeng throws the old man aside and mocks Chen Zio for finally crawling out of his turtle shell. He asks if Chen Zio wants to play the hero and lays out his terms: pay back the money, hand over the water, and leave his life behind. He says he might then consider letting the others go. Chen Zio coldly states that he has no interest in playing the hero. The two men stare at each other intensely. Chen Zio then suggests that fighting and killing is boring and damages one's karma. He reminds Liu Heifeng that he started out running a casino and proposes they settle this by making a bet. If Liu Heifeng wins, everything Chen Zio owns will be his. But if Chen Zio wins, he must release Old Man Wang and get out of the area. Boss Liu bursts out laughing and agrees, throwing a dice cup over. He declares they will bet on the size of the points, with one round determining life or death. Chen Zio catches it and calmly bets on big, announcing the start of their God of Gamblers showdown. They both shake the dice cups vigorously as the crowd cheers for their boss to win. Boss Liu slams his cup down, supremely confident. He lifts it and bursts out laughing, revealing 3 sixes, a supreme roll, and declares that Chen Zio has lost. Chen Zio remains calm, telling him not to be in a hurry because the winner is not yet decided. He then secretly uses his spatial cut on the dice inside his own cup before revealing his roll. He casually remarks that Boss Liu's dice don't seem to be of very good quality. When Liu Heifeng's dice are revealed, they are all split in half. The crowd panics, realizing the total points are 21, bigger than Liu Heifeng's supreme roll. Chen Zio declares that Liu Heifeng has lost and tells him to release the old man. Enraged, Boss Liu accuses Chen Zio of cheating and charges at him with a knife. A system notification detects a strong negative emotion of anger, plus 500. As the mob boss lunges, screaming for the stinky brat to go to hell, Chen Zio thinks it is just in time to try out his new skill. He sidesteps effortlessly and hurls the dice device, which explodes on impact, kicking up a cloud of dust and debris. The gang rushes over, asking if their boss is okay. As the smoke clears, Liu Heifeng says he's fine and orders 2 of his men to find that kid. He then spots Chen Zio up ahead and screams for his men to beat him to death. His goons immediately open fire, but a sharp slash takes down one of them instantly. Boss Liu is shocked to see Chen Zio standing there unscathed. He pulls out a rocket launcher, shouting that he doesn't care how strong Chen Zio is, because he can't possibly dodge this. He fires the missile, yelling that Chen Zio's inheritance is all his. At that moment, a notification appears: spatial barrier activated. A blue barrier forms around Chen Zio, completely blocking the missile's explosion. Boss Liu panics, unable to believe Chen Zio can block a missile. Chen Zio smirks and asks if Boss Liu can't afford to lose, taunting him for wanting to renege on the bet in front of so many people. As he speaks, he casually slices the falling missile debris with his spatial cut and walks forward. Seeing him approach, Boss Liu feels genuine fear. Chen Zio remarks that he doesn't even have a decent knife and is not worthy of negotiating terms. Boss Liu internally panics, realizing something is very wrong with this kid. Chen Zio tells him that he has looked for trouble time and again, and now it is time to settle their score. Thinking fast, Boss Liu decides that fighting is a losing business, especially since his fuel is gone. He concludes it would be better to recruit this kid with weird abilities and the gold mine of a safe house to earn back his losses with interest. Forcing a smile, he claims it was all a misunderstanding. He suggests they can be considered friends made after a fight and asks if Chen Zio wants to make a deal. Boss Liu shouts for Chen Zio to listen. He warns that killing him gets Chen Zio nothing but blood on his hands. He insists that while human life is the cheapest thing in this world, he can help him live on and live better. He reveals he has a batch of medicine, precious antibiotics like penicillin and cephalosporin. He explains that a tiny infected wound can take a life and offers a deal. If Chen Zio lets him off the hook, he will split the batch of medicine with him. Chen Zio acknowledges that antibiotics are indeed hard currency in times like these. He tells Boss Liu that he has far more stored than just this room. Liu Heifeng points out that while he has food and drink, he has no medicine and one illness can be fatal. He suggests they cooperate, revealing the medicine is in an abandoned factory in the West District, and only he knows the password. Chen Zio stares at him before saying, "All right." He tells him that tonight's matter ends here. Boss Liu eagerly agrees that it's good the misunderstanding is cleared up. Chen Zio then tells Boss Liu to go ahead, and they will talk about the specifics another day. Boss Liu quickly turns and orders his brothers to go. As they flee, Chen Zio smirks. He thinks to himself, wondering if a password alone can stop him, because even without one he can open the door. Chen Zio turns to Grandpa Wang, reassuring him that it's okay now because they are all gone. The old man's fear begins to subside. Grandpa Wang thanks little Chen for saving his life and says that if he ever needs this old man in the future, just to ask. He admits he is old and can't fight, but he can still help plant some seedlings or do some chores. Chen Zio tells Grandpa Wang that he understands his intentions, but urges him to go back, lock his door and rest well. Later that night, under a blood-red moon, one of Liu Heifeng's thugs mutters that Chen Zio scared him to death. Boss Liu sneers, calling Chen Zio a rash youngster and asking if he really thought he'd split the medicine with him. He scoffs at the idea of cooperation, admitting it was just a stalling tactic to stabilize him first. He declares that once he gets the supplies in his hands, he will see how he kills him. His men start flattering him, with one calling him wise and another betting that Chen Zio won't live past 3 days. Liu Heifeng's expression turns serious. He says that something is definitely wrong with Chen Zio since even artillery shells couldn't get near him. He orders a man he calls Pineapple Head to take some time to investigate him, but before he can finish his sentence, his head is sliced off. The thugs panic, with one screaming about a ghost and another yelling to run. They scatter in terror. On a nearby building, a figure stands quietly. It is Chen Zio. He calmly bids Boss Liu goodbye forever. Later, an emergency notification is broadcast globally. The high-temperature phenomenon is out of control, climate tipping points have been breached, and the ecosystem is on the verge of collapse. Authorities suggest residents either migrate north to temporary shelters or hold their ground and wait for rescue, repeating that it is not a drill. Chen Zio listens and scoffs. He knows that so-called pure land will soon become a new purgatory, and waiting for rescue is even more of a pipe dream. He thinks to himself that the real nightmare has only just begun. He foresees a future where heat-resistant mutant beasts will devour all creations of civilization. The awakened among humans will also form factions and kill each other in the struggle for resources. He resolves that what he needs to do is not just guard this safe house, but turn it into the final fortress for survival. Outside, a crowd has gathered. Someone shouts that they are starving and their homes have burned, questioning what about Chen Zio. Another person yells about him occupying a big, sturdy fortress all by himself with food, drink, and air conditioning, asking on what grounds. They pound on his door, with one man shouting that it's because Chen Zio refused to help that everyone ended up like this, and that he must give an explanation. They decide he must share the safe house and everyone should take turns living in it for collective survival. Inside, Chen Zio calmly listens to music while cooking. He even takes a picture of his steak and posts it online, seeing a flood of comments from his neighbors calling him a selfish bastard for eating steak and using the AC while they can't even get water. A system notification displays the emotions he has harvested: jealousy, anger, and despair. Chen Zio thinks that incompetent fury is the cheapest emotion in the apocalypse. Outside, one of the men curses, vowing to kill him. Chen Zio thinks about the abandoned factory in the West District and decides to scout the path first. He opens the door, but a wave of heat hits him. As he steps out, a large knife flies directly at his head. As Chen Zio steps out, he dodges a machete that flies at his head. A group of his neighbors charges forward, shouting that if he doesn't give up the house today, they will cripple him. Chen Zio rushes at them, stunning his attackers. He grabs one man's wrist, twisting it hard and forcing him to drop his weapon. As another thug attacks from behind, Chen Zio easily dodges. Now armed with the confiscated weapon, he faces another attacker who rushes in. He stares coldly and unleashes a series of rapid slashes, leaving all of his assailants wounded on the ground in an instant. One of the fallen men trembles, accusing him of daring to kill people in broad daylight while so many people are watching. A system notification detects fear, plus 1,000. Chen Zio calmly responds that killing them would only dirty his hands. He thinks to himself that killing them directly would be letting them off too easy. In this weather, their wounds will get infected, and in just a few days they will slowly rot in pain. Later, Chen Zio arrives at the West District factory. He spots a surveillance camera and quickly cuts its wire. As he slips inside the building, he starts coughing violently, realizing the air is thick with poison gas. He curses, thinking it is a trap. A figure in a gas mask injects him with a syringe, then calmly asks if he is feeling any better. The masked man explains that while the nerve gas isn't fatal, it is unpleasant. Chen Zio demands to know who they are, wondering why there are guards when Liu Heifeng never mentioned them. He suspects he might have been set up, but notes that these two don't seem malicious. The masked man introduces himself as Lin Guodong, a biomedical researcher focusing on human evolution in extreme environments. He then introduces his student, Su Rui. She waves hello. Lin Guodong explains that the gas outside is a necessary anti-theft measure, but admits he is more curious about the unique incision on the camera wire Chen Zio cut. He thanks Chen Zio for saving him. Chen Zio is suspicious, thinking about the title biomedical researcher. He looks around the room, which looks more like a high-tech laboratory than a medicine storage room. Lin Guodong tells him that he needs medicine and is free to take whatever he wants, considering it both an apology and a meeting gift. Chen Zio quickly fills his bag with various medicines. He slings the bag over his shoulder and says thanks. As he turns to leave, Lin Guodong watches him and calmly says, "Until we meet again." Later that evening, Chen Zio finally returns home. He feels uneasy, thinking that although Professor Lin saved him, the way the man looked at him was creepy. Just then, a notification pops up in the homeowners group chat. Someone is desperately asking for antibiotics and hemostatic drugs, offering to buy them at a high price. Chen Zio posts a picture of the medicines he just acquired, nodding that their effects should be good. However, he adds that they are not for sale. The group chat erupts in rage. One person calls him a selfish villain. Another threatens that once they heal up, they will come to his door and take his life. System notifications start flooding in: anger, hatred, and jealousy. Chen Zio ignores the insults and starts unpacking his bag of medicine. Suddenly, he pauses, his expression freezing. He pulls out a small, metallic object from the pile. He realizes with a shock that it is a tracker. Chen Zio inspects the tracker and wonders who put it in his bag and when. He smirks, thinking that if they want to play a tracking game, he will play along. He spots a stray white cat near a green dumpster. He approaches the cat, asking the little guy to do him a favor. He gently attaches the tracker to the cat's back and tells it to take it to the places it usually likes to go. The cat meows and then runs off, climbing up the pipes and carrying the signal away. Meanwhile, on a laptop screen, the tracker's signal creates a chaotic pattern of movement across the city map. Lin Guodong stares at his screen in frustration, unable to understand what on earth his target is doing. Back in his safe house, Chen Zio checks the homeowners group chat. A man posts desperate messages asking for medicine for his dying brother. A woman holding a child begs for clean water, offering her treasured picture books in trade. Chen Zio looks at his phone coldly, recognizing the woman's sympathy-baiting act from his past life. Another message from her appears, directed at him, questioning his humanity for pretending to be dead, while a child is dying of thirst, and calling him an irresponsible, cold-blooded man who deserves to be single forever. Chen Zio dismisses this, thinking it's not his child and not his responsibility. He thinks to himself that hypocrisy and moral blackmail won't work on him. He looks at a surveillance photo he took, which shows a neighbor named Wang Wei secretly moving boxes of supplies. He replies to the chat, exposing her and suggesting she bring out her 3 boxes of water and 2 boxes of canned food to share first, promising to match whatever she shares. In her apartment, Wang Wei stares at her phone in shock, realizing Chen Zio had cameras in the hallway and caught her. The group chat instantly turns on her, demanding she share her hidden water. Moments later, a group of desperate men break down her door. One man screams for her to hand over all the food and drink. Another warns her not to force them to take action. The mob rushes past her, tearing her apartment apart and grabbing all her supplies. Amidst the chaos, the begging woman from the chat sneaks in and greedily stuffs her bag, ignoring her child. Afterward, Wang Wei is left sitting alone in her ransacked room, bruised and crying. In a stairwell, a group of neighbors mourns over a dead body. Panic sets in as a man screams about the body rotting and causing them all to get sick. Suddenly, Lin Guodong and Su Rui appear, telling everyone not to panic. He introduces them as a medical team from the city CDC there to help. Putting on gloves, Lin Guodong apologizes for being a step too late, blaming a blocked road. He explains that in this high heat, corpses must undergo professional harmless disposal immediately to prevent an epidemic. The neighbors watch with hope. He hands out disinfectant tablets and basic medicines, warning that quantities are limited and must be distributed according to need. The neighbors are overcome with gratitude, thanking him and believing the country hasn't forgotten them. Meanwhile, Lin Guodong notes that the signal went completely chaotic near this area, concluding his target must be close. From his apartment, Chen Zio observes the scene and is surprised to see Professor Lin. He realizes the professor must be tracking him. Suddenly, his pocket vibrates. He checks a text message from an unknown number that says, "Watch out for that doctor." He stares at the screen, confused about who sent it. He looks out at the skyline, a new variable on his mind. From a nearby rooftop, a mysterious figure secretly watches the events unfold through a telescope. Chen Zio realizes with a start that there is someone else watching him too.